Hello, my fabulous social media friends. Rob Wells here again from DABS, Domestic Abuse Business Support Limited, the home of the Bridging the Gap project. Now, if you'd rather listen to this as a podcast instead of watching it on YouTube, I'll pop the link down below. Today, I want to discuss domestic abuse, gender, and bridging the gap. As you know, the Domestic Abuse Bill has recently received its second reading in Parliament. This could not have come at a more crucial time, as COVID-19 shines a spotlight on domestic abuse with a sharp increase in incidents across the UK and the rest of the world. Whilst we of course welcome the government's efforts to promote awareness of domestic abuse with the You Are Not Alone campaign and the financial support for domestic abuse charities, we're deeply concerned here at Bridging the Gap by the gendered language being used in all areas of society when discussing domestic abuse. Currently, domestic abuse is seen by the majority of governments and other national and international organisations as an issue that exclusively affects women and girls. Male victims, whether they're gay, straight, bisexual or transgender, may get a brief mention at some point during debates, but their experiences are often immediately minimised with comments and phrases such as "women comprise the overwhelming majority of domestic abuse victims," or "relatively small numbers of men," or "men experience abuse to a lesser degree than women," or worse, men are only mentioned when discussing the need for perpetrator programs. These comments are factually incorrect and based only on prejudice and discrimination. We're finding that the domestic abuse discussions today are gynocentric, with gamma bias playing a pivotal role. In the year ending March 2019, 1.6 million women and a substantial 786,000 men were recorded victims of domestic abuse. The number of unreported cases is likely to be much higher, and each person will of course have been a victim to multiple ongoing incidents. Now, did you know that men are widely recognised as being 3 times less likely than women to report their abuse? Did you also know that there are no refuge spaces for men in London? And did you know that, ironically, the government campaign slogan, "You Are Not Alone," is actually the tagline that's been used by Mankind Initiative, a charity for male victims of domestic abuse, for many, many years. Each time a government minister talks about domestic abuse in the House of Commons or to the press, because a new campaign is being launched, a new law introduced, or another media article published, they have the opportunity to reach out and offer hope to all victims of domestic abuse. But when they talk about domestic abuse as an issue that only affects women and girls, it sends out a very loud and clear message to male victims and their children that they're invisible and that nobody cares about them. It also increases their level of isolation and despair, pushing them further into the arms of their abuser. Bridging the Gap is a global project aiming to change the written and verbal language that we all use to discuss domestic abuse. We hope to bring people together who support the idea that no individual sufferer, survivor, or importantly perpetrator of domestic abuse should receive preferential treatment simply because of their gender. We believe that all victims deserve to be equally recognised and supported, regardless of their gender, ability, sexuality, ethnicity, religion, or social and workplace position. We hope that we can achieve this by encouraging people like you who are watching today to support the Bridging the Gap project by using gender neutral and inclusive language that fosters genuine equality and encourages others to do the same. In turn, we hope that over time, this change in language will help to break down the social stigma and gendered stereotypes that surround domestic abuse and often result in male victims being discriminated against by those that should be there to help them. A discrimination that is contrary to the Equality Act 2010. Let's be clear, this project favours no gender, and it is not an attempt to deny the statistics or diminish the experiences of women and girls. Of course, we fully support all efforts to protect women and girls, but that should not be to the detriment of male victims. I came across this quote online. Language shapes our attitudes, beliefs, values, and understanding of what is truth. Our language is the heart of who we are as a person, and language can both isolate us or bring us closer together. Unfortunately, there is an all-pervasive suspicion of male victims and an obvious willingness to overlook female perpetrators, whether they're straight, gay, bisexual, or trans. This is lodged deep within the domestic abuse system, based on some perverse notion that male victims, by virtue of their masculinity, are unfeeling brutes, incapable of being impacted as seriously as women by domestic abuse. Male victims and their children are left feeling criminalised, worthless, belittled, powerless, and irrelevant. Equally, female perpetrators are being let down by domestic abuse organisations that fail to recognise them. There have been a number of studies that show that perpetrators are often victims of some form of historical abuse. And this was certainly the case with my abuser. However, whilst there are a number of male perpetrator programmes in the UK, female perpetrator programmes remain scarce. Therefore, those women perpetrating domestic abuse can't get the help that they need and, inevitably, move on to abuse other men or women and their children. Finally, I'm asking that the term domestic violence be dropped from the conversation. By using the term domestic violence, it just reinforces the belief in society that you are not a victim unless you are being punched, slapped, kicked, or grabbed. We need to educate society that domestic abuse is far more than a punch or a slap, and in doing so, I'm sure that we'll see far more men and women recognising that they are actually in an abusive relationship. I'm asking you to support the work of the Bridging the Gap project by making a commitment to end gendered language around domestic abuse. Thanks for watching today. Don't forget you can listen to this as a podcast on SoundCloud, and I'll put the links below. If you want to see more work that Dabs is doing around domestic abuse, especially domestic abuse in the workplace, again, I'll put a link below. Stay safe, have a great day.